Hi, I'm Kevin Dahani, and today I'm going to show you how to make and attach the hat piece that goes onto the back of these headpiece masks so that they can be worn on top of the head for a theatrical production. I've had lots of requests from people asking exactly how it's done, how I attach these, and how I keep the headpieces on the actor's head for the show. So today I'm going to try to show you step by step how to do that. So for my demonstration today, I actually am going to be making the hat piece for my zebra mask. And for those, I have black baseball caps. But since I've already kind of started the process on those, I'm just going to take this a different color baseball cap, not to confuse you, to show you the beginning part of the process. So what I did is I purchased these inexpensive plain baseball caps from like a crafting store. I think they were like $3 a piece. You might have them around your house, or you can find them on garage sales, but very often they have logos on them. And my thought was, when I attach these, sometimes you might be able to see the logo from stage. So that's why I just got these plain caps to start off with. So the first step that you're going to do for these caps is to remove the bill. And for that, you're going to need one of these tools. Not sure what its technical name is. I call it a ripper. It's used in sewing. And all you have to do is turn the cap around in the back and find the seam here where it's attached to the bill, and just use your ripper and just start pulling the thread out. So what'll happen is you'll be able to detach this whole bill from the cap, and it will look like this. You get two separate pieces. The other thing is once you detach it from the front of the cap, this is also detached as well, and that's fine. We can easily sew this part back on. So once the bill is detached from the cap, the next step, and this is a pretty easy process overall, is, see, this is how the bill was on the cap normally. You're going to take the bill and you're going to flip it upside down and reattach it to the cap so that it's going to be kind of standing up like that. So that's the next step, is to sew this back onto the cap. Okay, so I'm going to start by sewing this piece back to the hat. This is what came apart when I removed the bill. I've got my sewing machine set on heavy woven and a number 90 needle. This is pretty thick, and I'm just going to go really slow and take it easy. Maybe even do some of the needle up and down by hand rather than using the presser foot, just because I don't want to bust my needle or wreck my machine on this baseball cap. Okay, now with that band reattached, my next step is to determine where exactly I want this mask and how I want it to sit on the actor's head for the performance. If you just take this mask and put it on your head like a hat, it's going to be flat like this. You're not going to see it so well from the audience. So I actually want the mask, when it's all said and done, to be kind of tilted up like this so that you can see it. So what I do is I kind of take, and that's going to determine how I put this bill back on the hat. If I put the bill on flat like this, the mask is going to sit flat. So if I put the bill on more kind of standing up at an angle like this, then the mask will be up more at an angle. So I kind of go in the bathroom mirror and I kind of see, okay, how much of an angle do I want? That looks pretty good. Take the mask away and it's like, oh, okay, I see that my bill needs to be at a pretty steep angle when I sew it on. So it's as easy as that. And the next step then is just to take all this off and sew the bill on to the hat. It's pretty easy to do that too because you've already got a center line. Most of these baseball caps already have sort of a center line marked out. So you just kind of, rough estimate of where the center is going to be on this bill. Just match it up. The corners are going to go about as far down as where the hat is. I mean, they probably could stick out a little bit, but you really don't want them to, just in case you might be able to see that from the stage. So I usually put it right about like that. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pin it down and I'm gonna stitch all the way around here, like twice. This is solid, there's plastic inside of here. I have gone through it with the needle by hand. You just have to be really careful so you don't bust your needle. But I found that just sewing this part, because this is still cloth, just sewing this on is more than sufficient and keeps it on attached tightly. So next step is to sew this on. Here's a little sewing tip for doing these things. I started at this one end of the hat back here and I've sewn toward the middle. And the thing of it is you're sewing something that's very like 3D here, and it does not want to lay flat to go through your machine. So once I got to about the middle part, I just kind of pulled it out and started over from the other end. It's the easiest way to do it, so that because you're already kind of really fighting your machine on this, because this is such a big, thick, and bulky thing to sew. So just a little tip. Just sew it to the middle, clip it, turn it around, and sew from the other side back. Okay, so I did one row of stitches on the hat, and so you can see now how the bill is standing up. So before I go back and just do a second row, I'm just gonna put it on and double check and see when I put my mask if that's gonna be good to go, if I'm happy with it. And I can already see that I'm really happy with the angle and how this is gonna sit on the head once I attach the bill to the mask. So that's gonna be perfect. All right, so now I can go ahead and do my second row of stitching just for extra strength, and I'll be ready to attach the hat to the mask. All right, now that the hat is sewn, the last step is to attach it to the mask. And for that, I'm gonna use two different kinds of glue. I'm going to use my hot glue gun, and then I'm going to use this super strong industrial stuff called Goop. And Goop comes in lots of different flavors, so to speak. There's this household version, which I'm using. I've also used the all-purpose. I think there might even be like a construction one. I don't know. To me, I don't know. I found them pretty much to all be the same. For this demonstration, I'm doing it in the house with a fan going. This stuff is incredibly strong smelling. I mean, this is like that old airplane model glue that your dad used to use in the basement. So use it in a really well ventilated area. Okay, so for the first step, I'll move the camera here to show you. I put the hat back on my head and I've got the mask here. Oh, and the other thing that I've got is a white marking pencil. And that's because the inside of my mask is black. So I put this on, and I did this in the bathroom, and I was kind of in the mirror and seeing, okay, yep, this is exactly where I want the placement. This is how far down I want the nose. I don't want it this far. I want to be able to see where I'm walking. I want it up this far. So I kind of just holding it with each of your thumb on each side, and just pull it off. And then using the pencil, I just mark right around the rim of where the baseball cap is. And that's gonna and I'll tell you why I do that in a minute. So, all right, so I mark it. And then the next step then, I start with the goop. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put this goop right on the baseball cap. I'm gonna put it on about 90% of the baseball cap. This is gonna take about, it's many hours, usually 24 hours to completely dry and cure. So I'm gonna put this all through the whole middle, just several beads like this. I'm just demonstrating, all through the middle. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the hot glue gun and I'm gonna go all the way around, one solid, nice solid bead, all the way around the whole perimeter. It's the hot glue then that's gonna hold this whole thing in place. Oh, and that's why I did the white marking inside the mask, is because then I can see exactly where to place this. I can do it, here's my white line that I marked. You probably can't see it. But then once all the glue and goop is on, I know exactly where to place this inside. And all I have to do is hold it for, you know, a minute or two till that hot glue takes place, and that's it. Then I can set it aside, and the rest of the goop that's on there will dry and cure in 24 hours. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that here as the final step. Okay, so I did my big thick layer of the goop and put that on here. Next, I'm just going to go right around the whole kind of outside of this with the hot glue gun. And it's okay if it intermixes. I mean, I can put a little hot glue here and there. It doesn't hurt at all if it overlaps with the goop. All right. Whew, that goop stinks. All right. And then I've got my outline done inside so I can see exactly where this is going to be placed. Place that in there, and then I just kind of hold it all down. Just hold it down for like a minute or so till that hot glue starts to dry and take hold. And that's it. Now I'll set it aside, like I said, for 24 hours. Let the whole thing dry. And I can, you know, once it's all dry, I'll obviously put it back on, retest it. There's, hopefully you can see this here, there's still enough space in between the cap and the brim where if you needed to adjust it a little bit, like let's say it was still laying too flat or too far back on the actor's head, you could put a piece of craft foam in between there to kind of jack it up and prop it up a little bit. Depending on the comfort level, these caps are adjustable and they're pretty comfortable. You could also put just a thin piece of craft foam right where the forehead of the actor is going to be, just if they need a little bit of extra comfort, depending on how long they're going to be wearing this. So that's it. That is how you make and attach the cap to these headdresses. Okay, now that the cap is all done on the zebra mask, really the final step is to install some nylon webbing, some straps, to really help keep that on the actor's head. Because they're going to be running around, jumping around, and just this sort of sitting on their head like a baseball cap, it's going to come off. So just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here, what I've already done for the young Simba Cub mask, you can see I went online and I found this big roll of nylon webbing. I think it's, I don't know how many yards, it's a ton, and I want to say it was about 20 bucks for this. It was, I just shopped around, I found the best deal online. This size, I believe, is 3/8 of an inch. And then I also, from a different website, I bought just a gross of these, the matching buckles, as close to the color as I could get. It's the best match I could get. And these for, I don't know how many are in here for this gross, 100 maybe, 50 or 100. It was like 14 bucks. So, and the reason I chose this color is obviously that it goes well with a lot of the lion masks, and it's also gonna blend in flesh-wise for most of my actors. It's just a little bit less of a distracting color than to have a black strap going across the face and down the chin. Now for the zebra, I am going to use black strapping just because everything on the zebra is black and white, and I think it'll go better. It won't be that much of a distraction on the face. But for most of the rest of the masks, I bought this sort of khaki, sort of more multi-flesh tone color. So basically how it works, I'm not going to actually sew because it's pretty easy just to show you, is you just measure and you cut 2 lengths of this nylon strapping, and I just sewed it right to the sides of the cap. These little buckle pieces just go on the ends and they're completely adjustable. So you just sew it on each side like this, so that once the actor puts the cap on their head, all they do is buckle this strap under their chin, just like you would for a bike helmet. And it's really going to add complete extra stability. Now, the other thing you can do for some of my bigger masks that are going to be larger, like the adult Simba, you can also add one more piece of strapping, kind of like they do on a bicycle helmet where it's shaped sort of a Y. There's a piece of strapping that goes from here down and it attaches to this strap and it makes kind of a Y, and the person's ear is in the middle. That will add the ultimate amount of stability for larger masks. So that's it. The last piece is just to add the webbing to the hat to keep it secure on the actor's head.